I'm joined now by Roland Rudd, Senior Partner at Communications from Finsbury and Founding Chairman of Business for New Europe. Roland, thanks so much for coming in. So it looks as though EU finance ministers really didn't break any new ground with the debt crisis over the weekend, but I suppose the expectations weren't particularly high in the first place. How worrying is this sense of disunity amongst Eurozone politicians?
I think it is worrying, and clearly we need real leadership. I mean, the market's saying it's a racing certainty that Greece will default. And the important thing for us is that there's a default within the euro. That's the most important thing, because if you have Greece defaulting and going outside the euro, that would be probably the most disorderly default you can possibly imagine, with massive political ramifications as well. And it'd be extraordinarily damaging, not only to Greece, when it would suddenly find that its debt would more than double, many of its banks would go bust, and it would be in an absolutely disastrous financial situation. But it'd be extraordinarily bad for the rest of the Eurozone, because you do have this threat of a domino theory, who would be next. And when people talk about UK's exposure to Greek debt of around 10 billion, you only have to think that to Ireland it's over 200 billion, and to many of the other Eurozone countries that would be targeted, it's similar sizes. So the stakes are enormous for the UK.
You're saying that this perception that if Greece was to leave the euro, it would be easier to ring-fence, if you like, the contagion spreading to those large Eurozone countries, that is very much a misperception, that actually the risks of contagion would rise exponentially? Hugely,
hugely. It'd be far worse, far more dangerous. It raises the spectre of trade barriers, of nationalisation, of a sort of financial meltdown, of banks going bust. It'd be the worst possible thing that could happen. And unfortunately, there are too many people in the UK who put politics before economics and are so keen to be shown to be right that the euro was always a disaster. They'd love to see it broken up, even at the cost of British prosperity and jobs.
And do you think there is a lack of understanding when it comes to Britain's, the UK's relationship within Europe, when it comes to trade, for example? Those links are particularly strong and they do contribute to economic growth. It isn't just, it isn't a risk, if you like, or a threat to the UK.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's 40% of our trade is with the Eurozone, compared to 4% and just over 1% for China and India, respectively. So you have to get it in perspective. So what happens to the Eurozone is incredibly important to us. And I hope very much that the UK government will continue to speak for Britain and not listen to those siren voices which say, let's use this crisis to try and repatriate powers back to Britain. That'd be the worst possible thing. We should be supporting and encouraging our Eurozone partners to come up with a solution, an immediate solution to Italy and its debt problem, but also a more immediate and sort of medium-term solution to the whole issue, maybe Eurobonds or more fiscal consolidation. But whatever it is, we should be supporting it.
And how worrying, then, is this rise of anti-Euro sentiment within Germany? It just seems as though closer fiscal union, the Eurobond prospect, is becoming more and more distant.
Well, in Germany, you've got to see the two things differently. I mean, there's the whole issue of Eurobonds, which obviously they don't like the idea of subsidising some of the problems throughout the Eurozone, but still, there's huge popular support for the euro. It's not a crisis of the euro as far as people are concerned in Germany, but a crisis of debt problems in other countries. So I wouldn't link the two things, and I think it's very wishful thinking among Eurosceptics in the UK that hope to see this great band of anti-Euro sentiment in Germany growing, which is just not the case.
We had a very blunt warning, didn't we, from US Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner over the course of the weekend, saying that Eurozone leaders need to seize the initiative, that they essentially need to resolve the crisis has brought catastrophic risk to financial markets. Is that a sense that you get when you speak to people, that there is a feeling we could be on the precipice of something catastrophic, as Geithner says?
Well, we could be, and what would be catastrophic is Greece going outside the euro. So to stop that happening, we need leadership now, which not only ensures that Greece remains in the euro, but actually deals with Ireland, but not so much Ireland, but also Italy, which has really now become almost the biggest concern of the market in terms of its debt, because obviously it's the highest debt to GDP in the whole of the Eurozone. If they do that and come up with a solution long-term to deal with this problem, which I think they will do, then that should be the leadership that the markets are calling for.
All right, thanks very much indeed. Roland Rudd, Founding Chairman of Business New York, good to get your take on this.